wife. He wanted to put a stop to the competition because he already saw a woman he liked. Once upon a time, in the big kingdom of Amanze, there lived a young king. He was very handsome and rich. He took over his father's throne at a young age after his father died. And not long after his ascension, he was advised by his mother to find a woman to marry. He was not in any relationship, so his mother told him that she would organize a competition for the village maidens, according to their tradition. And the young king thought it was a good idea. The village town crier went around beating his drum while passing out the information to the people. The king is hosting a competition for all maidens, and every eligible maiden is expected to be there. Mothers were preparing their daughters for that day. They bought new clothes and styled their hair in different elegant styles. When the day finally arrived, all the village maidens were dressed so beautifully in colorful attires and accessories. Then the competition began. The competition was to be carried out in three stages. First, the maidens were to dance, then a walking parade, and lastly, a mysterious test would be given. All the maidens danced. The young king couldn't help but smile to himself when he caught sight of a very beautiful young maiden in the crowd. Her beautiful face and dance steps got him enchanted. It was love at first sight. He prayed that she would win so he could make her his wife. He wanted to put a stop to the competition because he already saw a woman he liked, but that would defeat the purpose of the competition. The maidens soon finished dancing, and out of 30 maidens, the king selected 12. The other maidens were disappointed. Some even left the palace out of anger. Next was the parade. This was done to see how graceful each maiden would carry herself. A queen is expected to carry herself with grace and elegance. While this was going on, King Ejike was engrossed by the young maiden that had captured his heart. Her slim figure moved as if she was walking on the cloud. All the maidens did well, but only 5 stood out of them all. Then lastly was the mysterious test no one knew about. The 5 maidens were given clay pots to fetch water from the stream, and that they must return as soon as possible. To them, this was the simplest of all tests. They took their pots and were on the way to the stream. Each took different routes to arrive at the stream on time. While the maidens fetched their water, old sickly men were placed on the path leading to the stream. While the maidens were returning, these old men requested water from them. One passed without saying anything, while the other passed and said, "May the gods forbid. Do you want to delay me?" And another said, "You look like my late father's brother. Such a wicked man. You will not succeed. Go and tell those that sent you that you did not see me." And then she left. All these maidens passed the old men, and only 2 of them gave the old men water, thereby making them arrive late. All that while, Ejike's heart was beating so fast. He wanted his dream woman to win, but now almost all the maidens were back, but she had not returned. His heart skipped a beat when his imagination ran wild at the split of a second. Few minutes later, he saw his beloved and another maiden enter the palace. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. But he knew she didn't win according to the rules, and this saddened his heart. Then the queen stood up. The first maiden to arrive was all smiles. She was eagerly waiting for the queen mother to hold her hand, but unfortunately, that was not the case. The queen went and whispered into the ear of a palace maid, She left and returned with 5 old men, the same men that had acted as though they needed water. A shocked look was visible on the faces of the maidens. Then she went ahead and held onto the last 2 maidens and said, "A queen is supposed to be kind. A queen is supposed to show compassion, and she's supposed to be helpful to those around her, especially something so little as drinking water. I understand you all were rushing back to win, but life is something you cannot get back. What if one of these men were dying? You wouldn't care." This should be a reminder to everyone here that as we go about our day, we should always be kind. With this, she went to Ejike with the 2 maidens, and he took the hand of Nnedinma and proclaimed her his queen. When the prince took Nnedinma's hand, she was so shy. She was surprised that she won the competition. And for the second maiden, the king gave her 2 plots of land, expensive clothes and jewelries, and a bag of gold coins. The village cheered the king on for his wisdom and the queen for her mysterious test that had taught them a vital lesson. Ifaka, the maiden to arrive first, was so angry. She left the palace and never looked back. Ejike and Dimma grew to love each other so much. They were like 2 peas in a pod. Ejike would talk about Nnedinma to anyone who cares to listen. Soon after, Dimma conceived. Ejike became so protective of her. 6 months into her pregnancy, Dimma became so weak and she was losing weight instead of gaining weight like other pregnant women. Ejike sent for the village healer, Ufoma. She was a well-known healer. She had worked in the field since her teenage days. As she came, she did some tests on the queen. She noticed the baby was okay, but the queen was not. She could not dictate what the problem was. She had never seen something like this in all her years of herbal practice, but she still gave her some herbs that could help her. But she was not responding positively to her treatment. Other healers came to see if they could help, but it was the same as the last. Dimma was able to reach her delivery date. She gave birth to a son. Ufoma looked at her and knew she would not make it through. She was so weak and her body was not responding to treatment. Then she called for Ejike, who came in, held her hand while saying certain words to her, and a few minutes later, Dimma took her last breath. The king was so angry. He turned to Ufoma and said, "I trusted you, but you failed me. Because of you, my wife is dead. I would have sentenced you to death too, so you could go and join her. But Dimma would not like that. From today onwards, I never want to see you in this land. Go and never step foot here again." He then turned and screamed a heart-wrenching scream. He felt so much pain for his loss. He also made a declaration that all herbalists and healers are banned from the kingdom, and those who did not comply to be executed. Ufoma didn't want to go against the king, so she packed her few things and left with her only daughter, who was asking questions non-stop, but Ufoma said nothing because she would never understand. Dimma was laid to rest, and Ejike held on to their son, Dike. He never allowed Dike out of his sight. He never wanted anything to happen to him. His time with Dimma was so short, but he wanted time with his son to be long enough. Ejike never took another wife after Dimma. He wanted to treasure their memories together. Ufoma and her daughter traveled to Isaka, her maternal village, which was 5 kingdoms away. After a few years, In Isaka, Ufoma knew her daughter was ready for an explanation as to why they left Amanze. She told her what had happened in their kingdom and why they left. Oredo thought it was foolish of the king to do something like that. She knew it wasn't the fault of her mother or the other healers. They were judged wrongly. But since it had been a long time, Oredo moved on and decided not to bother herself about it. Back in Amanze, Dike was growing up to be a very handsome prince. He was a combination of Ejike and Dimma, his late mother. Ejike would often look at him and wished that Dimma didn't die. On Dike's 11th birthday, his father organized a party for him. While he was dancing, he suddenly slumped. Ejike was the first to rush towards him. He then carried him to the room. "Who would help my son now?" he chanted repeatedly within him. Now his judgment had come back to haunt him. There were no healers in the land, and some that rebelled were killed, and the others fled the village for fear of being killed. The chief priest was called upon, and he came not long after. When he looked at Dike, he shook his head. He said some incantation and told the king to find Omimi. That only Omimi can heal him. All home treatment given to Dike proved abortive. The king sent out words to every kingdom he could reach to get him Omimi. Omimi was the word in everyone's mouth. They did not even know if it was a man or a woman, and Omimi was a strange name for anyone to answer. The king didn't want to lose his only child. He was willing to do anything possible to save Dike. While the search was in progress, Ejike remembered Ufoma. Could she be the one the chief priest was talking about? "Oh gods of my ancestors, please help your son," he prayed. Within 4 market days, most of the kingdom had received the message from King Ejike, and they were looking for Omimi on behalf of King Ejike. Ejike felt like he would run mad. He could not bear to see his son lying there looking lifeless. He couldn't eat, sleep, or even perform his kingly duties anymore. Then, one of his father's brothers, Arinze, came to have a discussion with him. "Ejike, my son, if you are not careful, you will die before this boy. Look at you. You have become a shadow of your former self. The way I see Dike, I think he might not make it like his mother. And don't you think it is strange? The same day his mother died, that exact day he slumped and turned into a vegetable." As Arinze was talking, Ejike wanted to give him a punch, but he was raised better by his mother. He thought his uncle was there to encourage him, but was surprised by what he was saying. "So what is your point, uncle?" he said with gritted teeth. My point is, I would prefer for you to take another wife. That would give you as many sons as you want. If you like, I can introduce my friend's daughter, Kambili, to you. I'm sure she's very fertile like her mother," his uncle said, smiling. Ejike found the conversation funny, but he was in no mood to laugh. "Okay, uncle, I have heard all you have said. You can be on your way now." Arinze was surprised. He wanted to say something else, but Ejike left him standing there. "Anyways, if you and your son die, I will be right here to take over the throne. I have always wanted to sit on that throne and experience what it's like to be a king," he said, laughing hysterically. Will Ejike find Omimi? Will Dike survive? Will Ejike listen to his uncle? What will the king do? Watch out part 2 to find out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in our next one. Bye.